Good morning, everyone. We'll get started in 5 minutes or so. Can everyone hear my audio? Perfect.
All right. Hey, Jonathan and Jeff, I've made you both co-hosts so that you can present and do whatever you like. And you're putting me to shame with your dress. It's casual Friday for me here today.
No worries. I read over the instructions last night and it said dress to impress. So it was all I could do not to put on my bright like green and orange Easter outfit from last week. So
yesterday I had on a dress shirt and a tie for no reason at all. I think it was laundry day for me, and I haven't had to wear that in a while. So, you know, today I've got my laundry all set up.
Well, we've got to get our kicks where we can. And I see you're floating through space. I definitely have been enjoying my Marvel backgrounds, or actually, it was DC backgrounds. So we've been doing our Muzzy Lane conferences from inside the Batcave, which has been kind of fun.
That is excellent. Hey, Chris, I'll turn it over to you for being the session moderator. Just trying to get everything set up.
He's very proud of that Saturn rocket.
Yeah, no, it's Lego, and it you can pull it apart and do all the different stages, and you know, in the top you've got your little lunar lander.
Working on Mars research projects is probably one of those things that many people will be jealous of, including me. This is a very prompt crowd. Everyone's here 2-3 minutes early. I thought Jonathan and I would, you know, have some time to sit here and contemplate our existence before everyone showed up.
Yeah, everyone's doing pretty good. So keep everyone going. So that 50-minute, we're like, okay.
That's right.
Like it's 9. They're like, it's 10:50. Okay, we need to end in like 2 minutes. Keep the trains running.
Because we all have so many places to be right now.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that we're reusing the same room, so we're recording them and then we shut them down and we reopen them for the next group, and so we keep everything going. So that also helps keep everyone promptly joining and moving at the same time. So
Yep.
About another minute. I'll keep admitting people throughout the conference, throughout the session as they come in, and I'll go ahead and turn it over to you and once we get started. Yeah. Came for the pre-show. All right, it is 10 o'clock, so thank you all for coming. We have with us today Jonathan and Jeff, and they're going to be talking about leveraging game-based learning in courseware to improve online instruction. So I will let them both introduce each other, and we'll go ahead and get started. And feel free to type in your questions in the chat. And probably at the end, if it's okay with the presenters, we can probably allow folks to open up their mic if they have questions, or you can, if you're more comfortable, typing your questions in chat as well.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. My name is Jonathan Kreisky. I'm a designer at Muzzy Lane Software, and with me, as always, is Jeff Fiske, our VP of Production. I'm going to be giving you a presentation on what we do using game-based learning to enrich student courseware. Jeff is going to keep an eye on the chat and interrupt me if there's anything super salient, but if you've got good questions, I don't mind having my motor mouth interrupted. I'm going to try and leave time for the Q&A, so you know, welcome your questions. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Let me know if it is not working. Are we seeing a? Oh no, I think
We're good.
backwards here.
Working.
Are you seeing?
We see your keynote. We actually see your notes.
Right. So that's what I'm just going to switch. There we
There you
go.
go.
So it just says Muzzy Lane.
Yep.
Yep.
Just as
Perfect.
Muzzy Lane.
All right, so for today, I want to start first, front and center, we always want to keep the student benefits as our focus. I want to talk about authoring and integration, and I want to show you a quick overview of the different kinds of activities you can make with Muzzy Lane Author, and then talk about partnerships and, if I'm not too long-winded, Q&A. So you want to use Muzzy Lane Author when you want students to practice a skill, apply what they've learned, or role-play an experience. And in all of these cases, this is an opportunity for them to use and apply the skills that they've learned. These activities integrate with your learning management software, but where a lot of online learning activities are focusing on comprehension and you know, seeing if students can understand and remember the material, where we really see the opportunity is in higher order thinking, helping students to apply and analyze apply their skills and analyze the materials and really retain the info. You know, the studies have shown that they really retain the information when they are engaged, when they are you know, reviewing and using the information they've acquired. So our product came out of a research study by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, where we studied the opportunity for game-based learning to help non-traditional learners. And it feels like all learning these days has become, is no longer traditional. So I think the lessons we learned are even more relevant now than they ever have been. But what we tried to do was look at all of these opportunities for traditional and non-traditional students to learn, all of their moments along the way where an impact could be made. And we identified a number of micro-learning opportunities where they could, a positive impact could be had with game-based learning principles. So we isolated all of these little opportunities and we looked at existing courseware and placed these opportunities in them. So these are larger capstone activities. They are short practice activities where they are reviewing the material. So we looked at where these could fit into existing courses, and we designed a set of templates that fit into existing courseware. These templates are content agnostic, so they fit in any different courseware that you have. They do not require any coding, so they're easy and fast to build with. And because they work on your browser, they work on any device in any location, and with LTI integration, they integrate with your LMS, auto-assessing students in an accessible and fast and easy and cost-effective way. I said accessible, and I always want to keep that focused. We are WCAG 2.0 accessible, and we've built all the tools from the bottom up with that in mind. So everything you're going to see today is all keyboard accessible. It has color contrast ratios kept in mind, and for students, differently abled students. So what are we actually talking about here? We're talking about different kinds of activities like role playing, and I've thrown a few quotes down on the bottom. I'm not going to read all of them, but putting this the student in the shoes of a persona that would actually be using what they've learned can be very impactful. Simulating real-world models. One of the activities, actually several of the activities made by our partners are actually modeling the spread of viruses, and we've got some that are about how to distribute N95 masks, for instance. So you never know what's going to end up being relevant down the road, but being able to put the students in a high-stakes scenario, quickly, cost-effectively, letting them see the repercussions of their actions in a simulated real-world model is something that can make a huge impact. Self-assessments. A lot of courses, want to have students take self-assessments to see where they fit into with the rest of the class. So being able to have them take these assessments and see where they fall on amongst their class and also amongst the global population can be very impactful. And also interactive, making your media interactive is a huge focus. So this one here is our smart video template, which I'm going to show you more of in a moment. The idea of it is you take a video and you can make that video engaging by adding questions, all sorts of different kinds of questions, and be able to assess not only whether the student watched the video to completion, but whether they are actually integrating the information and being able to use it. So a lot of partners have a lot of these resources that really do need to be brought up to the 21st century, and the smart video template's good for that. And I'll touch quickly on, we're actually doing an audio version, which I'll mention in a moment more on, which should be pretty cool. And also more traditional practicing exercises like this is our Align template, which is sort of flashcards. So that can be very useful. So all of these different activity types can fit into the courses at different moments, but how do you get those activities? There are three main ways that you can get these get your students engaging with the material with Muzzy Lane author activities. Number one is you build it. So our platform is free to create an account. You can build whatever you like on there. Where we make our profit is on student usage. So we, as I'll show you in a moment, there are a lot of self-serve onboarding resources on the tools, but also, you know, we really want to see you building and see you using our tools. So the second avenue for development is we build it with you. We can, if you've got a particular course area that you need to develop, we can either help you train your teams up on how to use our tools, or we can have a limited partnership where we are building those activities for you. And thirdly, and most, the sort of most ready to go today is that we have developed a library of content that's ready to go across a number of course areas with our partnership with McGraw-Hill Education. And let me just take 2 seconds to talk about that. We have been working with McGraw-Hill for several years. This fall, they went live with over 500 application-based activities built with Muzzy Lane Author. So whenever you see the term, that's what they call our stuff, is ABAs, or application-based activities. So if you're using any Connect courses and you see an application-based activity, that's us. They had 500 live in the fall, and they had 500 more in development. They've got a whole set of teams who are all using Muzzy Lane Author to build. And I'm going to give you a sneak peek today at, well, I don't know, sneak peek. I'll give you a peek at their current library. And if you want, if we have time, we can actually poke around and look at any of those activities. We have put these activities in front of students. I've got here some instructor feedback, from McGraw-Hill, the thing we hear over and over again from students and instructors is that they'll bring up the activity that they did. At the end of the course, they'll pick that one out and they'll say, oh, but I remember that one where we actually practiced marketing a backpack or whatnot, and that was really cool to be able to apply the skills. So it's something that really sticks with them and really bolsters their retention of the material. So I think we are done with the with Jonathan's keynote here, and time to take a look at the tools. Were there any big questions right away on what I showed there, Jeff? You're muted.
I'm muted. Nope, nothing worth recircling. Just some people are digging the content so far. Okay.
So you can see here I am in Canvas and I'm in the instructor view at the moment. That we added a medical assistant activity to a course as a module. It's an external tool. And oh, actually, I'm sorry, I'm in a student view here. I want to be here. Here is the instructor view. We've got this activity where we're going to be able to see all of our students and how they've played it. And let's go ahead now and go to the student. And let's play this activity. So this activity was created for medical assistants. And it will simulate some of the challenges you may face as in a diagnostic imaging laboratory. All right. So first we're going to put in our name and an avatar here. They feel like my hair is looking more and more like that every day. And you'll notice up at the top, we have patient interactions and identifying procedures as learning objectives for this activity. And I don't know if you could hear through my AirPods, we had some sound coming in there of what a busy diagnostic imaging laboratory might sound like. You can also have voiceover throughout the activity if you want, that you can record. So we get into our job, and the first problem is that a number of videos have been mislabeled and need to be organized. So what is this video of? It's pretty gross. I'm going to go ahead and purposefully get this this one wrong and say that it's an MRI. And what you'll notice is it's bringing me down a remedial branch that is bringing me to this these additional materials telling me about the different types of diagnostic imaging. So it was not, in fact, a MRI, it was a fluoroscopy, but we've been taken down a different branch that's giving us different questions now because we didn't get that one right. So how can we tell that it's a fluoroscopy and not an MRI? Well, the patient is moving as the video is taken. That could be both, but it is a cross-section. I'm sorry, I got that one wrong there, but we have loop on incorrect. Here we go. All right, cool. So this is all to say that it is in many ways adaptive in that you can create activities that that have multiple branching paths where different things happen depending on students' earlier choices. And this can be as simple as the example we just saw, where if they get something wrong, it sort of helps them learn the information, or it can get very complex where if we are simulating a classic baking soda and vinegar volcano, if they have put in the vinegar and the food coloring and everything else, nothing's going to happen until they finally put the baking soda in, at which point the volcano will go. So sort of going through this activity kind of quickly here, we are making appointments for, so we're working on our soft skills, making appointments for a patient. We are going through our patient check-in process, asking for their name and date of birth. And then we're going to be looking at the doctor's calendar to decide when the patient should come in. Better to have an operation in the morning because you can't eat the night before. And then we're going to go ahead and do a image response question where we again are organizing our files and labeling them for the laboratory. I'm just going to finish up here to get to, and so the important thing here is we are being assessed on multiple levels, our patient interactions and our ability to identify these procedures. Now, the student gets an overall score for the entire activity, but they also are going to see where they are succeeding and where they are struggling, and the instructor is going to be able to see that as well. So we reach the end of our shift, we can see we're doing, much better at identifying procedures, have some links we could follow to work on our patient interactions. We could print out a PDF of our results page here. A couple things I also didn't point out, you've got help, everything here is customizable. And now if we go back to the instructor page, we should now see that our student has completed the activity. And we can see, they are not doing so well at patient interactions. And this could have, 12 different learning objectives being assessed if we wanted, all of which we would get the breakdown. We can also export the scores and even export the details so we can get down to a granular level of how each student answered each question. So that's, the integration. It could, our activities also could be placed into an iframe if you wanted to embed it in other course materials. But let's go ahead now and take a look at that activity we just played. Let's look under the hood. So what we're looking at now is the Muzzy Lane author authoring system, and you'll and so this, you know, you build it on here and then you publish, and it goes right into your LMS. Let's just go ahead and edit the activity now. I just want to show you how, you know, quick and easy it is to make changes here. So here's the image we started with, the audio. If we click on Navigator up here, we can see the big picture top-down view. And what you'll notice is, remember I told you there was that moment where, you know, I got it wrong and it took us down a remedial branch. You can see that I chose MRI here, it brought me down this branch, and then it brought me back and reconnected with the earlier, with the other branches. And it says, you know, making changes to your activity over time. So if you need to be updating these, you know, if I need to change that to 3 exclamation points, I make the change, I save it, and then I'm able to preview it and immediately see those changes. And of course, that won't go live to students until you finally press the big publish button. The other thing I'll point out here is we have onboard commenting features, which can be quite useful. So if I was sharing this with internal stakeholders or with subject matter experts, I might share this with them and just allow them to turn on this commenting feature, press this and say, you know, your grammar is terrible, and assign that to myself at the moment. And then when we go back in and edit, or when we sign on to the service in the morning, you know, we can see all of the comments that everyone's been adding, tearing my activity to shreds. So we also have onboard help. So if you click this little help button, it's going to tell you what all the different elements do. We've got you know, a help center up here to help you learn how to build the activities. And this is, as I think I mentioned, the Smart Chat template. I would say the Smart Chat template is really, I like to say it's our crown jewel, just because it really is very, very versatile, very easy to author. And we've got a lot of folks making all sorts of different activities with this. It really can be used in a lot of different contexts, and can get very, very sophisticated if you want, or it can be very straightforward. Next, I just want to show you our Align tool. Pretty straightforward here. We've got, it's just straightforward but powerful. You know, these are very quick to author. We've got our flashcards of our different presidents. Here we can review it before we get started. And if I get something wrong, let's go ahead and get, I'll say it's I'll get the party end quote wrong. What we can see is where the student is struggling, and they're going to get feedback that is letting them know where they are having difficulties. Instructor, of course, gets that feedback as well. This is our Smart Scene template, which is, which again, I'm going to my name in here. Oops. So this is similar in many ways to the Smart Chat template, in that it is putting you, is sort of a role-playing simulation. Although Smart Chat, to be honest, doesn't have to be role-playing. It can be a lot of different kinds of things. This is very much a role-playing activity. We're playing an elder care living consultant who is going to help a family decide which apartment is best for Mary Gladman, their mother. So we're looking at their, you know, the elderly mobility scale for Mary, as well as the notes from her physicians. And we've got these 2 different apartments to compare. And so the cool thing about this activity, and here we are, we're now in this 3D environment of the home. The cool thing about this one is you can choose either apartment and that doesn't affect your score. What does is that you need to defend your choice. So the structure of take a position and defend your position is one that we've seen in a lot of activities that can be can get towards that higher level of blooms. So this one here I actually pulled right from a Mcgraw course on electricity. This is the smart video template. As you can see, you've got your video over here on the left, and as you continue through the activity, you reach points in the activity where questions are going to pop up asking us to prove that we know the material. I think I'm getting I think there's a lot of video going on my personal my home internet connection. There we go. So it's taking an extra moment. So it's streaming from Vidler, this site, and here we've got some multiple choice questions. I've kind of been going quickly. Let me just mention that in all of these templates I've shown you, it's not just multiple choice question. There's also open response questions, select all that apply questions, categorize questions where you're actually taking objects and putting them into different categories, and a few other question types, and more coming down the pipe, as it were. If any of you, so this, I teased earlier, you know, this is the smart video template, but we might actually need to change it to the smart media template, because we've created a new view specifically for audio, for music listening classes, where you can rather than having a video, you can see all the different sections of the song. So you can see where the brass comes in, and this is movement 1 and movement 2, and have the different characters speaking in your opera. So if you're interested in that, we can show you that at some point. And on that note, let me just say that, you know, we are a small agile company. We have been developing feature sets really based on the needs of our partners. So this template came out of one of our partnerships, and a lot of the feature sets you're seeing, you know, the different sets of features, you know, didn't exist originally, but we've been very quick to add them based on the needs of our partners. So if you have a particular need you're looking at, you know, we'd love to hear about it and see if maybe those set of features could be worked in. And finally, let me just show you the self-assessment template. This is a personality test activity. So we are, you know, answering some Likert questions here. And at the end, we're going to see that we are, you know, conscientious, agreeable, extroverted, emotionally stable, and open to new experiences, which sounds great. And we get a breakdown of why that is. And I can, you know, offline, I could also show you the student experience for where they fit in their class, and globally. We've got that worked out in that specifically through Connect currently. So that's the end of my prepared stuff that I wanted to make sure we looked at. I have up here the McGraw-Hill application-based activity library. If anybody wants to look into any of these particular topics, you can put that into the chat, and maybe after answering some questions, we can take a look at what kind of activities are in any of those, and actually play some of them. I really like, for instance, the geology ones, where we get to learn about earthquakes and hurricanes and whatnot. But let me take a sip of water and a breath here, and then I'd love to hear your questions.
So while he sips, I'll just mention that this library that Jonathan is showing is a subset of activities that McGraw-Hill has created for higher ed, that if you already are using Connect, you have access to all these plus more. This set is content that's cleared for use with external partners who are not in Connect, who just want to use these. They're mostly geared towards the higher ed curriculum, but there are student services and some other areas. So if you're in a particular area, you know, higher ed's got, Mcgraw Hill has some text or has some subjects that you're interested in, but they're not in this ABA library. I'm sure if we signaled Mcgraw Hill, they might be interested in adding them to the library. So that was hopefully an answer to a question in chat.
We've also signed a partnership with their K-12 group, who have given us some more requirements for the templates that we're building in some new features in, and I think the buttons are going to be bigger in our new view, so that they work better on tablets, for instance. So hopefully this time next year we'll have a library of a few hundred of those, you know, for the K-12 space. But again, you know, as far as authoring, if you know, you can build your own in there in here as well. So I see a question on anatomy and physiology. My girlfriend's actually studying to be a nurse, and she's in A&P 2, so I know how difficult that particular course is. Jeff, what do you think?
So on that,
don't know if I want to go into the human sexuality one, although I know that one.
No. You know, as far as that particular, as far as that particular topic goes for college, even Mcgraw Hill actually uses a third-party software to teach the A&P. We did have some stuff. Jonathan, if you wanted to show presidential history.
Well, I did.
Sorry, I was typing. So if you remember the presidential history thing, the anatomy and physiology group, I know in Mcgraw Hill, they use some things like that. But we don't have any current activities in the ABA library that address anatomy and physiology.
But we do have some that I would say are in that vein. Here we certainly have phlebotomy activity, which is quite good. Let me also show you, I believe, do we have the one on medications? I think that one would be good, the Align, I think. Just because for medical terminology, we've got these ones here. They're in Smart Chat, but so what's cool about this one here is we're being auto-assessed on defining the word elements, the meanings of medical abbreviations, interpreting medical documents, defining disorders of the urinary and male reproductive systems, describing and identifying diagnostic tests, and translating medical terms into everyday language. So, so this is, again, you know, a lot of that that terminology is important, and this is, you know, taking it a step beyond flashcards and whatnot, in that you are using that knowledge in context. So this would be, you know, a good, you know, a good way to reinforce that material. And of course, I'm gonna do very poorly in this. So again, this is in the Smart Chat template, and let me just see.
I didn't. I took a quick look, Jonathan. I couldn't find what they were looking for.
Okay.
But I wanted to ask if anyone had any questions about either the way that the different templates integrate, or that general process, or maybe the usage, how people are using them, anything along those lines. It's always good when I know Jonathan did such a good explanation. All your questions have been resolved.
I do think, for instance, you know, there we go, hands-on nursing skills.
So one thing that we've just introduced is image hotspots, which we can't show you right now because we literally are releasing it live probably next week. But that's going to, you know, obviously we do the soft skills part of this very well, and that's an important part of any nursing interaction. But for intro to nursing and just teaching actual procedures, like where would an EKG go, the image hotspot is going to allow you to do whatever level of fidelity detail in the image, identify different areas, and then ask the student, you know, where does the red lead go? Where does the blue lead go? And do the same type of feedback that we can do, whether or not you can give them a supportive response of, oh, next time you want to put that there, or no, you just killed the patient, or actually, let's go down, you know, you got it wrong, but let's go down a separate branch and ask some follow-up questions. And again, depending on the level of the student, what you're assessing for versus what you're teaching them for, you provide that all in that ending screen feedback. And that's really the strength of Author. And then that all gets automated, rolled up, and the teacher can look at it, and you can assess across you know, your whole class and see whether or not, oh, wow, everyone's struggling with this type of thing, or everyone's doing well with that type of thing.
So just to show you what we've sort of teased a few times with the image hotspots, I hope you don't mind. This is the functionality that's being released, you know, probably in the next few days, is actually more sophisticated than this. But the idea is we're in a smart chat here, and the question type allows you to make hotspots in an image. So if we look for biology, we're going to be able to have an image of a neuron and ask to click the nucleus of the neuron. In the demo I've got up here, we're only able to do squares, but you know, coming this afternoon, you know, in the next few days, we've got all sorts of different shapes. But you know, this will allow folks to be able to do that exact thing I was telling you about your baking soda and vinegar. So if I add the baking soda and I add you know, the Pop Rocks, it doesn't explode yet, nor does it explode when I put in the food coloring. But as soon as I add that vinegar, we get the explosion. So just to say, you know, as far as branching and using variables and conditionals, that's able to work. So anyway, I don't want to show you too much, not ready for prime time content on here, but that's what we're talking about when we're talking about image hotspots. Which also, by the way, what's really cool about it is this materials side you've got. A lot of times it's been really difficult to have maps and infographics because they're not accessible. So you're going to be able to have a map come up here and have different keyboard accessible areas in it that pop up with different information. Any other questions from folks? Otherwise, you know, quality, not quantity. I'll give you back 10 minutes of your day.
Well, I will add, Jonathan, I don't know if you want to show the slide again so everyone's got our emails. Actually, I can just put them in chat. But as Jonathan said, we're a small company and we're very hands-on. And, you know, we'd love to hear from you. we'd love to hear your projects, your needs. If there's something that you think that we don't do and you wish that we would do, let us know. And we are quite responsive to, sorry, I'm not very good at talking and typing at the same time. Quite responsive to suggestions and different needs. For example, someone wants to use the music listening guides in a podcast and they don't like the list of question options because we offer categorized questions in Smart Chat. We don't offer them in the Smart Audio. That's an easy thing for us to accommodate.
Mhm.
Yeah, you can reach it just muzzylane.com.
And on there, if you follow the links on muzzylane.com, that also will bring you to the link if you want to create an account on our site. I will just say the demos on there are not our most new and exciting ones. So if you email us, we can also find demos to share with you that would be relevant to your subject area. But what's great is you create an account, try creating some activities, and then email me and say, Jonathan, this is terrible and it's not as good as you say, and I can set up a Zoom conference and prove you wrong. All right, well, hope to hear from you all and hope you guys, that everyone got something from the session. So enjoy the rest of the conference and stay safe and well.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much, Jonathan and Jeff, and thank you everyone for coming. Please remember to fill out the survey as well, the evaluation survey, and tell us how well everyone did. And thank you again, Jonathan and Jeff, for coming and presenting.
Great.
All right, thanks a lot.
Stay safe,
All
stay
right.
sane.
Yep, definitely.